All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out today to the dedication of Captain Fred Rost Tice Memorial Bridge. At this time, I'd like everyone to stand. Those in uniform, salute. All civilians, hand across the heart for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Color guard, attention, height. Present, arm.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arm.
Thank you. Today we have our color guard presented by the Wallace Willard Keller American Legion Post 242 and the John Rivers Memorial VFW Post 11322. Thank you guys. We appreciate you coming out and supporting us again. Today is a bittersweet day for me in the dedication process. We've been doing this for 2 years, and inevitably we knew two things would come to be. One, we would run out of bridges close to a family's place of living, which we're slowly drawing to. Second, we would come to a time when we wouldn't find any family for our memorial man, our hero today, Captain Tice. Today is that day. We've searched and searched without family. So today, I'd like to ask all of you to be his family today. Today, we will stand here for his family and be Captain Fred Tice's family and live for him today and tomorrow, and hopefully sometime in the future we will find their family and be able to share this moment with them. But for now, today is our day. So today we will celebrate Uncle Fred and his legacy here in Hilltown Township. He was from Hilltown Township, went to school at Hilltown High School, studied aeronautical engineering, and graduated in 1961. I was just talking with Bob about that, and I'm imagining what that would look like in 1961 with the slide rule, you know, going back and forth books. It must have been a crazy thing to be able to calculate what they needed to calculate to figure out how to fly a plane, starting the space program with a slide rule. That seems incomprehensible to me. But that's what he did. He was an aeronautical engineer and a captain in the U.S. Air Force. And today we celebrate his legacy by dedicating this bridge, Bucks County Bridge 241, in his honor. I'd like to introduce Bucks County Commissioner Bob Harvey.
Thank you, Ed. We thank the Color Guard, thank Warriors Watch for always being at these, thank our public or our general services staff. I still think as a township supervisor I keep calling it Public Works. For the general services, thank you for all the work you do in setting this up, and our communication staff as well. There's building off of what Ed just mentioned, there is an old saying that, you know, we die twice. Once, you know, when we leave this earth, and then once again when there's no one left to remember your name. And I'm certain at some point somewhere out there is a family for Captain Tice, distant relatives, cousins, nephews or nieces who maybe don't know anything about him. Maybe over the decades since his death in 1965, his story has been lost within his own family, which is a tragedy by itself. But today, we ensure a small measure of immortality for him. By naming this bridge in his honor, people who drive across it for decades to come will see his name, and he will, in that sense, live on. And that's how it should be. Fitting for someone who served his country, sacrificed his life, defending the United States, defending peace around the world. So it's an honor again to be here on behalf of Commissioner DiGirolamo, who could not be here today, and also our Veterans Affairs Director, Matt Allen, who couldn't be here today, want to thank Ed for all his work, for all the others who are here. The Marine Corps League is here all the time, constantly, so thank you very much, for your continued service, and thank all of you.
Thank you, Bob. Bob is right. With his name on this bridge, he does have a legacy that will live on forever. And one day his family will come up and we will find them because we'll continue to look. Last night I made a phone call at about 10:35 to a instrument repair place about 40 minutes north of here that had the last name of Tice that I found. Left a message and sent an email, so maybe it's them, maybe it's not, we'll find out, but I hope it is. And hopefully they were watching it if they got my message. But this will be his legacy, and he will live on. At this time, I'd like to introduce Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick.
Thanks, Ed, and good job once again. How many are we up to now?
16?
16.
17? 17.
And it's now Bridge 241 will forever be named after Captain Tice. And I had to travel a couple weeks ago at a New York airport, and I took a train, and the train landed into a train station named after a politician. Then I walked past an arena that was named after a bank to go to an airport named after another politician. And it reminded me of how every single one of these buildings, every single one of these transport systems, stadiums, whatever, they should all be named after veterans. Every single last one of them. And that's why, Ed, I want to thank you. I want to thank the county commissioners for starting this, because it would be nice if we did that. I was, several months back, I was in Normandy, France for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and just walking on Omaha Beach with people that were there that day, and hearing their stories about how so many of them lied, not to get out of the war, but to get into the war. They were 16, 17 years old lying to say they were 18 so that they could fight, so that they could have their place in America's history and their place in preserving world peace and world order. They are absolutely the greatest heroes we could ever imagine. And I'm just glad that this county is doing this, because it's a tremendous honor. And as Bob said, what's the significance of putting a name on a bridge? Every single person that drives by, not everyone's going to see it, but many will. Oftentimes it's the kids in the car that notice these things, and maybe that'll spark up a conversation with their parents. Mom, Dad, who was Captain Tice? And why is this bridge named after him? Maybe his parents may know, maybe they won't. If they won't, maybe they'll go and research Captain Tice and his history and his service to our nation, that he left a wife and children behind when he perished from this earth in Japan. And that's why we do it. It's to remember. As Bob says, preventing that second death of people forgetting you, because that's what we can never do. And we're very, very blessed and fortunate to have a beautiful veteran cemetery here in Bucks County. I think it's the nicest of all the veteran cemeteries across America. It's the nicest, and it's also in a very, very special place, because we all know the history of Washington's Crossing, which we're going to be celebrating in 2 years with the 250th anniversary of our country. And I hope we don't just celebrate the crossing that occurred that night and the victory, which culminated in the battle, the defeat of the Brits in the Battle of Yorktown, but all the men and women that have served our country in between. And it started with the Continental Army. They left their families, their spouses, going on what was deemed to be a suicide mission, so that people they didn't know and never would know might enjoy a better way of life. Isn't that the story of every single veteran, every single serviceman and woman in America? They are willing to serve a cause bigger than themselves. It's the most noble and honorable way one can live one's life. So I thank you again for doing this, and thank you to the Legions and to the VFW Post, to the Warriors Watch, for never forgetting our true heroes. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. The story of Captain Tice. For those of you that didn't know, he was a captain in the U.S. Air Force on his last mission, he wasn't the actual pilot, he was the flight commander of a C-130A Hercules. Hercules is a cargo ship they used back then that was really in its infancy, was only about 6 years old. But that plane was a mammoth plane for that time of flying. It was 100 feet long with a wingspan of 142 feet and stood 20 feet in the air. It could carry 212 troops, or 2 tanks and a jeep, apparently, which just seems incredibly large to me. But when we look at some of the things we have today, the C-130 is still out there, it's still flying, they're still using it. As a flight commander, they were flying in to the Qui Nhon Air Base. The weather was poor and an instrument landing was required. The pilot of the aircraft had already been waved off his first attempt because of an obstructed runway. On the second pass, he came in short on the runway, turned the plane. Again, the wing hit the water. 2 crew members and 2 passengers, including Tice, were killed in the crash. This would have been Tice's last mission, as he was scheduled to be rotated out and become an instructor back at Jacksonville Air Base in Florida. So, one more time, maybe, as we've seen so many other times with these men from Bucks County as pilots and airmen. One more time becomes his last. There are 2 plaques down in Jacksonville Air Base, which is now Jacksonville Space Force Base, with his name on it, that was put in by his family. His family, his wife was from Jacksonville. They had 5 children. 1 died at 15 from cerebral palsy. The rest we were unable to locate, but there was many. He would have been 91 this year, so he was an older pilot for that generation, but nevertheless a hero in my eyes and in our eyes. And today we'll dedicate Bucks County Bridge 241 to Captain Fred Rost Tice. Gentlemen, if you would just reach behind you and unflip that sign to memorialize Captain Tice.
Color guard. Present. Arm.
Bridge 241 no longer exists. It is now the Captain Fred Rost Tice Memorial Bridge here in Hilltown Township. Thank you.
Order. Arm.
I'd like to introduce Diane Marseglia.
Parade. Rest.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks, Ed. I have something else I wanted to say, but I'm going to take a risk at what I'm going to say right now. This morning, I drive through the cemetery where my daughter is every day, and there was an enormous hawk next to where she is. And that is the sign that she comes to me. I don't know if you all looked up, but hawks are normally by themselves. There was a hawk and a really big blackbird up there. We often wonder if they know we're doing this. I honestly believe that that's a sign that he knows. His family may be here, he knows, but I just had to share that. And as I stand here trying to find words after that, you know, they're hard for me to find the thank you. I was thinking about how I don't even understand how bridges are built, and it's the same way when I try to find the words at these events. But I do know that I am touched, that this man was able to go to training, to go to a far-off war, to live in rough conditions, all knowing the whole time that his life was at risk. I'm inspired that he knew that what our forefathers did, and possibly people in his family, and found the courage to go over and do that himself. And I'm in awe that in 1965, when the rest of the country was not supporting what was going on in Vietnam, he found the strength to go over. I bring this box with me to most of these events because in it is the POW or the KIA bracelet for a man that I began wearing it for when I was 9 years old. And I bring it because I met his grandson 20 years later, or I guess it was 15 years ago now. And I feel like our lives are intertwined. And at this bridge today, now we are all intertwined with Captain Tice. And I believe that we will all remember people who crossed this bridge forever will always remember him. And although his family isn't here, I would be remiss if I didn't thank them. They have waited 59 years for today, so thank you to them too.
Thank you, Diane. Yeah, we would be remiss in not thanking the family. So I thank you for being his family today. And I'm sure Uncle Fred is looking down and smiling and being quite content knowing that he will be remembered. As Bill pointed out, this was bridge number 17 in our quest to remember 136 men from Bucks County killed or missing in action. You can see our stories and their stories at the website buckscounty.gov/memorial bridges. And this man's story. All are incredible, all are hometown heroes, all deserve more than this, and certainly in a much sooner time frame than what we've been able to give them, but we've given it to them. And that's the important part. They will live on. They will not die. Their name will be spoken. Somebody will look his name up and they will find him. And that is the goal. I'd like to just mention that on Thursday, we're going to step out of our wheelhouse and do a bridge dedication, but not for a Vietnam man, but for a man that was killed in Beirut in 1983. Classmate of mine and Vince's in Langhorne. If you have the time and the ability, I'd invite you to come join us at the Wood School on 413 on Thursday, the 24th of October. For today, I thank everybody for coming. Again, the Color Guard, thank you. Our Vietnam veterans, welcome home. And we'll see you at the next dedication. Thank you.